Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast designed to analyze the games that we love, headlines and the music, and the movies we can't forget. I'm your host, Wenzel Burns, my counterpart, Savon Morris. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Trying to get into some topics today. What you got for me?
A lot, bro. The Chris Paul's on a different team. The draft, Bradley, a lot. This is the perfect time to talk about a lot of topics. but obviously, as Savon was mentioning, just a wide-ranging list of topics to get into. Obviously, with the NBA draft last week, some heavy news there. NBA free agency is always a lot to speculate. Some album reviews, and in the second half, we're going to do a review of Mo Better Blues. To start off with just thoughts on Victor Wembanyama's potential as the number one pick this past Thursday. The Spurs drafted Wembanyama, and as a 7-footer with just so many intangibles, he's considered by many to be a generational talent as a player who can defend and play above the rim, but also hit step back 3-pointers. What are your thoughts on what San Antonio drafting him, and also just the hype that he's encompassing? Because it's been a while since we've had a player come in with this much hype.
Yeah, I mean, so he's gonna he's going against Giannis for the worst, not the worst name, but the hardest name to say in NBA history. That's the first thing out the gate. The first out the gate, these announcers, podcasters, the whole shebang is gonna be Who's your mama? So it's gonna be crazy for the first 2 years until people still get Giannis last name wrong. But man, we talked about him before this happened, before he got drafted out with the San Antonio, that he was just a rare talent. The guy's freakishly tall. He's long. He's good front court, back court. He can create his own shot. He just does things in a manner that you won't think God would create you create this type of human being to be able to do these abilities. But then you get past he's amazing, but then you look at the situation he's going to, right? He's going to San Antonio Spurs, 22-60 last year. I don't know what they want him to be, the savior. No, they were last in their division. They were last in the West. Is he a great talent? Yes. Is he a LeBron James who could turn around an organization this fast? I don't think so. So it's when you get past the a rare ability that he has.
Got to look at the realistic factors as well.
The realistic factor. Can he come in and immediately help? We saw this last year with, kind of 2 years ago, I guess you'd call last year, with Holmgren before he got injured doing the
Summer League.
The Pro-Am, the Summer Leagues. We didn't know what he was going to do with OKC. Now we get a chance to get a feel to it. So I think it's the same type of hype because they match up accordingly, Holmgren and Victor. I'll attack it later. I got to get some practice.
We're warming up. We're all warming up.
It's a full-on season. We probably won't see him this summer. Probably see him more obviously get into the regular season in preseason. But I think they match up. Chet Holmgren and Victor, I think they match up in quality. So it's gonna be interesting to see them go at the same time, even though obviously Chet Holmgren was drafted way before Victor was. Yeah. So it's interesting to see both of those guys and what they do. And OKC has better promise, obviously, what they did last year without him. Mm-hmm. But once you get past the raw of rare abilities, you just get to the realistic factor. He's not going to be able to turn this team around. He needs the 3-4 years. There's a lot of guys who had this hype, like Kobe Bryant, who didn't come out and make. I think he went to the Hornets first.
Yeah.
And then he got traded to the Lakers. He didn't make Lakers immediately better. They had Shaq already. They had different pieces. So it takes time.
It takes time to integrate a player like that. Because I mean reports about the Spurs wanting to take their time and playing him for a lot of games. Like they might even manage the amount of games that he plays. Like they're thinking about maybe around 60 to 65, just not pushing him too hard. Do you think that's another thing? Like the Spurs are also, they're realistic thinking hey, we know it's going to take some time, so we're not even going to try to play him every night. We're just going to get him integrated in a slower manner. Obviously, want him to play, but you have to realize that, hey, we want to make sure our talent is invested for the long term.
I mean, in this day and age, we get load management and a lot of old heads, new heads. They're clashing about this topic, but when it comes to Victor, he's already injured. He's already probable for the start of the season. That's why he's not playing in the summer league. And he's not going to be he's going to be in Las Vegas, but he's not playing with the Spurs at the moment because he's already plaguing injury. The number one draft pick already has an injury. So it's daunting to think about this rare talent and what you can do with it, but you have to have limitations. One, because he's already injured. Two, he's a young guy to put that much on his shoulders. I know he did the podcast
AJ
with
Redick.
JJ Redick. He was like, "Oh, the pressure doesn't get to me." Bull crap. This is the NBA. First of all, this is not overseas. It's not France. It's not Hong Kong.
I was wondering what you thought
Philly.
about that clip, because it was interesting. So I'm just like, that sounds great. That sounds great.
It sounds amazing.
But like, man,
but come on,
when you get into those
bro.
into the nitty gritty of NBA season, it's rough. It's a bear.
It's rough, and you're going to an organization that is used to winning, who's has multiple championships, who's been to NBA finals, who's been in a longevity in the postseason,
right?
And they draft you number one. That's a lot of pressure. Then you take pictures with greats, Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, the other guy that was in the picture. I don't know him.
I think David Robinson.
But you're taking, it's a lot of pressure. It's okay to say, yo, this is a lot of pressure for me, but I'm up to the task.
Yeah.
That's a clear-cut answer instead of just being delusional, like, oh no, I want to think of a clever way to say I'm not under pressure. Well, yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're getting compared to LeBron James type to come in to change the face. They want you to be the face of the NBA. That's what they're gearing you up to. They did it for Zion a little bit. He didn't step up to the plate. They did it for Trae Young for a little bit. He didn't step up to the plate. So they're looking for the next guy. Luka, maybe. I don't know. But they want a new guy. They want a new guy from overseas. And I feel like I'm talking a lot, so I'm just going
to. You're good.
Bro.
Yeah, energy. I got energy. But moving on to our next topic with Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller's future, you know, the number 2 and 3rd pick. Scoot Henderson is, you know, a tone setter offensively without athleticism, and Brandon Miller is a prototype wing and an elite shooter. And, you know, with all the hype around Victor Wembanyama, these two kind of like were in the back burner a little bit, but they are still phenomenal talent.
Yes.
And they can bring a lot to the table, obviously, in terms of their respective teams now. What are your thoughts on what they kind of possess offensively, skill-wise, with the athleticism, and what they can do, you know, instantly for their teams?
If you're not familiar with what type of basketball player I like the most, one is a center. I was huge on Dwight Howard, Shaquille O'Neal. That should have been reversed. Shaquille O'Neal, Dwight Howard. Obviously, you got guys like Tim Duncan, and then it's the prototypical type point guard, a facilitator who looks to pass first, who gets his team hot first, and then he can create his own shot, and then he can finish at the rim, and it's an add-on. That's what Scoot Henderson is. I was big on Colin Sexton when he came out of Alabama. I'm big on this guy too. He impressed me so much with his basketball IQ and his ability to facilitate first, and then. Obviously, Victor got the hype, but I think Scoot Henderson is one of those guys who could come in and make an immediate impact, and I think he will.
An immediate impact kind of guy.
And I think he's humble enough to come off the bench as well and be a 6th man. I think he has that mentality, and that's what you need for your organization. The guy has a ceiling to Mars. Bro's a dog, man. Yes. I looked at a bunch of tape. I'm like, yo, his IQ is for a 19-year-old, and he's 6'2", which I love the most. He's not a tall, gauntly 6'10" point guard, light skinned from Australia. He's not one of those guys, but he's 6'2". He's gritty. He's not afraid to finish at the rim. He's not afraid to ISO if he has to. So he has all those tangible things and intangible things, that humility aspect you want from younger guys coming in. Yeah. So Scoot Henderson was big on my radar. And then you look at a guy, Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller's cool. Like, I'm not big in small forwards, but I think
he thinks Paul George is the GOAT. He thinks Paul George is the GOAT.
Yeah, that threw me off.
That was like, hilarious. They're like, so what do you think? LeBron and MJ said, you know what? Paul George.
Paul George. Everybody's like, really what? Wants to get on his podcast. That's what I think it is. He really wants to get on Paul George's podcast. Bro, please stop being delusional. Paul George is a good player. Don't get me wrong, but he's no LeBron James, man. It's clear cut.
They
Like
were
it's
asking
like
you two
not
people
even
for a reason.
close.
They didn't mention Paul George
Yes.
for a reason.
Bro,
You're like,
why?
this PR
Paul
team was
George
like,
would
follow the question. Follow the question.
they look
A or
like, bro,
B.
what'd you say? And I know Paul George saw it was like, what? Thank you for the like I appreciate the love, boy. You're delusional, my guy. That's crazy. And that was the highlight, the headline
Mhm.
from Brandon Miller of what he said about Paul George and just alluded. Anywho, I think he's a good player. I think he's coming off the bench. I don't think he starts right away in the lineup, but that's not a knack to his abilities. I think he'll be better at a 6-man position because a small forward right now position is kind of even when you got, but he is not a true power small forward anymore. Kevin Durant moves around. It's a bunch.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges moves around. It's not
The
like
definition of it
a
is kind of frayed. So
yeah. So I don't see him playing power forward. I think he's too small to play power forward. So small forward in that, it's kind of iffy. So that's why I say he comes off the bench. I think he's a good shooter. He has those tangible things, but I don't think he gets in a lineup right away. I think he works his way up and
yeah,
comes off the bench and supporting cast player, and then becomes something bigger than that.
yeah, definitely. And now transitioning to the news of Chris Paul heading to Golden State and this, kind of being such a surprising development. Last week the Wizards agreed to send Paul over for Jordan Poole after the Bradley Beal exchange, and it's very interesting to see Chris Paul end up on a team. He's faced so many times in the playoffs over the past decade. That gif of him and Steve Kerr fake laughing, like I just get. There's so many moments. It's just like Chris Paul and the Warriors have been rivals like for years, and now he's on the same team, and it's like when I first think of the trade, it's interesting because obviously the Poole Draymond clash was always something everybody knew one of those two guys was going to get
Yes.
moved. But also when you look at this team, whenever Steph and Clay weren't on the floor, they needed somebody to keep scoring, and nobody could. And that may be a mindset of the Warriors being like, okay, like let's get somebody who can be that guy to keep the offense humming when our best two guys aren't on the floor. Chris Paul can be that guy who slows the pace down, but at least keeps the team, structured and not. Jordan Poole is not going to be structured. He's gonna pull up from anywhere.
No,
You know what I mean? So
no,
Chris
absolutely
Paul
not.
does bring more discipline, but at the same time, this is an older guard, and it makes you think like they're making an
Yes.
older move. Like, what did you initially think of the trade and kind of how it might work?
I understood the trade. Obviously, for the reason alone, when Steph is off the court, they need a true facilitator. Draymond is good at what he does, but he's not Chris Paul when it comes to slowing the game down properly and then being that facilitator in that mid range, just giant.
Yeah,
Chris Paul is just amazing at
he's
that.
awesome.
But just like Victor, you go past all that and realistic, he's pushing the NBA limit of age, first of
Sir.
all. Number two, he's injured prone. He was just injured in the postseason that he could have been a big factor of helping them go to the NBA finals.
Right.
So is he going to be able, are they going to rely on him? And then third, the relationship between Draymond and CP. Draymond has been vocal about him not liking CP3 at all.
Yeah.
He said that blatantly, like, I don't like the guy. So you're swapping one situation and putting another situation in. It doesn't make sense. It's not going to be like, oh, they're going to be professional about it, but they're going to butt heads because Draymond wants to be the facilitator. He brings the ball up sometimes. He's pig-headed thinking he's sometimes something he's not. But I think it's going to cause more friction that it solves problems. And I understand it, but I don't think it was the right move. It was the right move to get rid of Jordan Poole for sure. But getting Chris Paul in the midst of that, I don't know.
I mean, it's different. Like, it's different if you bring Chris Paul to the Lakers and him and LeBron are instantly like the best of friends. You know what I mean? It's just a natural chemistry. But Chris Paul and Draymond, it's like you might have another interesting locker room situation.
Oh no! Headlines gonna go crazy for that one.
Yeah. And now getting into Bradley Beal's new fit in Phoenix, the Wizards recently finalized a trade to send Beal to the Suns for a package that originally included Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and several second-round picks in the pick swap. The Wizards also agreed to send guard Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd to the Suns. And this is the Suns are in that position of they just added KD in February. We all knew it was going to take time for him to get acclimated. Um, my first question is, why would you bring in another big three? Why would you add in another big three and not build around KD and Devin Booker? Because I think that's the better move. You know what I mean? Like with Brooklyn,
Yes.
it almost feels like I was talking about it with Tyler the other day. It almost feels as though a repeat of Brooklyn, like like James Harden,
That's
Kyrie,
interesting.
and KD. But the difference between those two teams is they had a natural point guard in James Harden because he could just naturally run the point. With this team,
True.
I mean, are you going to have Booker do it? Like these guys aren't natural point guards.
No,
You know what I mean? So
they're gonna have Cameron Payne do it.
yeah, I can't, oh, the irrational confidence. but
Oh
but
gosh.
in terms of this trade and what it means for the Suns, like what do you think about it? And their attempts to go for another big three.
I think, let me get my just delusional comments out the way. I think this is brilliant from Bradley Beal, who has been so patient on trying to get to the next move. They've been trying to deal Bradley Beal for years. He's signed with the Wizards. He's been patient, and now he gets to go to an organization that wants him to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the key players. When he was with the Wizards, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the realistic nature. Why? Poor K. Why do it? Get you some supporting cast players. You could have got, instead of getting Bradley Beal, you could have got 2 other 3-point shooters.
Yeah.
You could have got another big to go with DeAndre Ayton because he looked like he didn't even want to be there half of the series. You could have got more pieces. I get Bradley Beal. He's great front court, back court. He's going to give you that dog minutes when you need him the most. But your bench is what got you in trouble in the playoffs. You didn't have a long enough bench, and then CP3 goes down. God forbid if Devin Booker or KD or one of these guys goes down, you're going to be in the same similar situation you was. And that was an excellent point with the Brooklyn. This is exactly what it is. But I do think I like Bradley Beal better in this big three than KD, Kyrie,
for sure.
and James.
Yeah.
But
those three, they just want to shoot forever.
Yes, at least, and I think Bradley Beal, he'll give you that the dog minutes. He doesn't. Sometimes he don't care about shooting. Mm-hmm. With the Wizards, he had to. But I think in this relationship, I think he'll be more open to different roles and concepts.
So you don't think he's overrated? You don't think Bradley Beal's overrated? So I've heard some people say, "Oh man, this is just going to show that he's over." I think Bradley Beal's properly rated in it. Like he was the highest scoring leader at one point. It was, averaging I think 31 or 32. Like Bradley Beal gets buckets. Like don't get it twisted.
People forget that he's been in a matrimony that he's been trying to get out for a while. He finally was like, you know what, I divorce you. And I think when you look at what Kobe did and Tim Duncan, all these guys of loyalty to an organization, at the end of the day, you're just numbers to them. And I think now they're gonna realize how good he is.
Yeah.
I think once he gets out into because who watches the Wizards game?
NBA League Pass subscriber. That's about
it. Nobody. Not even the reporters be like, we'll catch the highlights.
They're like scrambling next morning. What, I gotta write something.
we'll catch the highlights. Oh my gosh. But that's asinine thinking Bradley Beal is not that guy. Bradley Beal is that guy. He's going to show it.
Definitely. And now getting to Kristaps Porzingis joining the Celtics. This was a three-team trade among Boston, the Clippers, and Wizards that sent Porzingis and the Clippers landed Malcolm Brogdon. Porzingis still has the ability to decline his $36 million player option and become a free agent. They also recently traded Marcus Smart to Memphis, and that was kind of like the heart and soul of that team. But obviously, the Celtics had kind of still been running into a wall of not winning a finals and even getting back to the finals this year. What do you think about the fit of Porzingis? Because I know some people are kind of high on this pick, but obviously this is an interesting fit because it makes you think of like, man, like Williams was supposed to be like the lead center guy. Now you add in Porzingis. Like, what's the identity of this team? Like what stands out to you with this trade?
I didn't think he was in the NBA still, to be honest with you. I didn't know Porzingis was in the NBA still, bro. And when I heard he's going to Boston, why? What does he has left? What
does
does
he
he
have
have
left?
left? They tried with the Mavericks. They tried with the Knicks. He's been. What are they
I'm
thinking they're going
glad
to
you're
get out of
saying that
him?
because some people are saying like, man, this makes the Celtics the favorite. I'm like, what is Porzingis done?
Oh,
Like
he averages.
maybe I'm guilty of not watching him enough the last year, but I don't know what's making them the favorite.
He averages 3 day dishes a game. What are we doing here, bro? He doesn't even play.
We're just saying anything
He's
nowadays.
washed up. He is a bust. If we're going to give the buzzwords to all these like Greg Oden, all these other guys, Chris Porzingis or Christis Bergaturi, he's a bust, bro. He's a bust. He's a bust, bro. It doesn't make sense. Marcus Smart is gone. That was a big part of their organization.
Big part, man.
They're not going to find another player like him because
You didn't agree with that trade, did you?
Absolutely not. He's the heart and soul of that basketball team.
Has that toughness.
He's the dog minutes, and he was getting better as a shooter. Yes, and he was getting better as a shooter. He was already a facilitator. He's going to be crazy on the front court. Like, that
one didn't even feel right. I'm like, it just doesn't even feel like this without Marcus Smart. Like, it just feels so different.
Yeah. But I did see like a little setup that him and Tony Allen has the same career because they came both from the same college, both started with the Celtics and then ended up with Memphis. Yeah. And Tony Allen was on the defense. My gosh, first team. He'll let you know, first team. Yes. But I don't get that. The Porzingis, I don't get that. He's going to come off the bench. He's not going to start. He can't. So what's the point? He's not going to give you threes anymore. He probably doesn't have any strength in his legs anymore. I don't know. Maybe it is wishful thinking.
We come back, and these teams making all these puzzling trades. Who's got the direction?
Make it make sense.
Nuggets.
Right. No, for real. They got everybody in shambles.
Everybody, man.
They're people
scrambling.
Man.
They're the new it team, honestly. And I mean, there's really looking at what they did, because it feels like the last time we talked, they were up 2-1 to Miami. So much has changed in terms of the outlook because the trades just overshadow the finals because the NBA just keeps humming along. It's a 12-month type of league and industry that just keeps going. But what did you think about how the finals ended? Obviously what Jokic did, and just the fact that this was a team that they did run into some snags, but overall there was really no doubt they were going to win each series.
We talked about this. Obviously, Jokic is he's just so good I love the fact that he's a facilitator first, and he's the heart and soul for sure, heart and soul of the Denver Nuggets. I think Jamal Murray is the leader of the Denver Nuggets. I said this before, but what they accomplished, we didn't know. We knew Caldwell Pope was a good player, but he showed that his ceiling is not touched yet. Michael Porter Jr. finally gets to that groove, and he shows the type of player he is. Mm-hmm. And then the biggest surprise out of all these players is Aaron Gordon.
Man,
his value has skyrocketed. And it's those players. We know Jokic and Jamal Murray are great players, but Aaron Gordon, Caldwell Pope, Michael Porter Jr., those three guys, and Bruce Brown, who's they're gonna have to replace him, and I think he's gonna go to the Lakers. That's what everything is talking about. But man, they have a great supporting cast, and that starting five is solid. Aaron Gordon surprised me. That was the biggest surprise out of this whole thing. He showed he's not just a dunker. He's a good defensive player, and he'll give you some consistent buckets and rebounds. So
really good player. Really
good player. And now, man, he surprised me because when he was with Orlando, he was all dunking. He was still getting into the league, getting into himself. And I think now in the role he is with the Denver Nuggets, he's able to shine a little more.
People were wondering, can you do more? Like, can you do more? And he showed that. It's like,
you just a dunker?
Yeah. it's like how the last finals Andrew Wiggins showed what he can really do. Because outside of Steph,
Yes,
he was the most impressive player in that final. I feel like
for
this year
sure.
was like an Andrew Wiggins level type of performance in the finals for Aaron Gordon. Like he showed that obviously there are better players than him in the series, but if he didn't do what he did, they weren't going to have as comfortable of a lead as they did.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. And man, and bro, they're going to be the new dynasty. I
I think
don't
so.
give, and I stand by this. Jamal Murray, Jokic, I don't think they're the top 5 duo just yet. They got to do this consistently. We all know how hard it is to keep all these players together. They're going to get poached. Trades are going to entice. Bruce Brown, I think, was a very vital part to their coming off the bench. He's gone.
Yeah.
So bit by bit, how long can you keep these guys together? How many championships or how long can you be successful with the guys you have? And we know starting a dynasty and having that dynasty consistently win is extremely hard in any
Oh yeah, for
sport.
sure. It's tough.
So to say they're the new dynasty, I'll give it to them, but obviously they're going to have to show it every season. If they win the championship or get close, then okay, then they
They're
could talk and
judged
see.
a
But
different metric.
yeah, but if they don't make it past the first round, they're not a dynasty. We'll give it to them now. We'll give that title. You're the new dynasty, but they don't get past round 1 next year. Then we'll know.
One hit wonder.
That was smooth, brother. Because they don't want to be a one hit wonder.
No,
And we've had a bunch of
we've had a
them.
lot of them though. We've had a
We
lot
have a
of them.
lot of them.
Yeah,
A lot of them. And we know we got to applaud the Warriors of what they've done. Man, it's crazy. We haven't had that since the Bulls.
man.
And the Lakers. I'll say the Lakers. The Lakers, had a dynasty and they repeated. They should have repeated 3 times, but they lost to the Pistons. That's another question. That's another story. But yeah, it's going to be interesting if they can keep all these guys together and then they can replace Bruce Brown Jr.
Absolutely. Well, but before we move on to the albums, man, where's Damian Lillard going to end up? We talk about this every offseason. Is he going to stay in Portland or is he going to go to Miami?
That man's staying in Portland.
As always, it's always this drama, and it's like we all know what you're going to do. You're going to stay in Portland. You're going to put up a lot of numbers and then not go to the finals.
Man, I don't think he wants to go anywhere else. I think he wants those pieces. I think he's going to stay. He's just one of those guys. He's just that old school mentality. I'm going to stay. I'm going to ride this bus till the wheels fall off.
Him in
But
Miami would be interesting, though. Him in Miami would be interesting.
It would. They'll be immediately better because then
That's what I'm
Jimmy Butler
saying.
doesn't have to be as consistent as
Jimmy
he should
can't
be.
win big like this though. Like with what
No.
he can get to the finals, but not win it all.
No. I think with Damian Lillard and then those 2 other guys who were phenomenal come off the bench, I think, oh man, that would be scary. They would definitely be the new favorite, the new favorite.
For sure.
Because we have new favorites every year. They're the new favorite.
We just change. We just swap them.
They look good on paper. How about that?
Exactly. And now get into our first album review with Killer Mike's Michael. And this new album, it is a self-portrait in many ways, and it contains killer hooks and swaggering, tender introspection. It gets extremely personal and it's centered on Black masculinity and the women in his life. This album is just, it's one I've just really enjoyed. There haven't been a lot of standouts this year, but to me, the production, the honesty, the vulnerability in it, how it was sequenced, I thought the features in it, everything had Currency, had Ty Dolla $ign, had Future, had all the pieces I think you want in an album like this, and I think it was just a phenomenal body of work. What were your initial thoughts on this, and some of your takeaways?
Yeah, this was well thought out. This was a better Killer Mike,
Yes.
more seasoned and focused
That's
Killer
the word.
Mike, because
That's the word, season.
yeah, we've seen Killer Mike over the years, especially in the 90s, 2000s, and then once he became political and being one of those, I guess, voices of the Black community, obviously that's really great. But when he was starting doing music again, some of those songs were not as potent as it used to. Now he's just focusing on music. You can see the talent that's still there, the consciousness is still there, the patience of understanding what works and not works is in there. Because he had a bunch of features, but I think every last one of the features worked. I
They
think
all
the
work. That's
beat
crazy, bro.
production was crazy, and obviously, who stole the show? One of the greatest rappers of all time. Man, Andre Three Stacks,
3 stacks. Right.
he's so different, man. He's so innovative, still finding new ways of how to rap, bro.
Finding new pockets, bro. That's tough. That's just tough.
How do you do it?
How do you still do that?
And you in Japan just blowing a flute and go to the studio and give us a crazy 60. I don't understand it, man. He's on another
It's like how we were
level.
with Nas with King Disease 3. We're like, how is he still doing this?
Yes, bro. How are you still doing this? How are you still like your mind is still just clicking and finding different
Yeah.
pockets, bro? Like you really have to be gifted to be able to do that at this age. Because obviously, just with sport, even in sports, your natural age is not your real age. Like if you're 30, you're literally like 35, 36. And if you're 38, you're 50.
In the rap
So
game, they look at it so different. They look at it so different in the rap game, man. They're like, oh man, you're getting up
you an
there.
old head. Yeah, as soon as you turn 35, man, you really an old head in the game. So just to be able to do that consistently, and it's been like almost 3 decades of him rapping. I think it has been 3 decades since him been rapping. I think 90s, yeah, close one, almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, but this is a great body of work. First and foremost, not in first and foremost because we're already past that. 14 songs, concise, beautiful, flow well, and
solid cover art. Everything just worked. I think it just was a good. It was well thought out.
Yeah,
You know,
this was Atlanta.
Yeah, that's what it. I like
That's
the albums
Atlanta.
that make you think of a certain region. There are certain albums I think of, and I'm just like, yeah, this is where it takes me to this region, and that's what this album did.
Yeah, man, Spaceship Views, bro, really surprised me with Cash Pays, 2 Chainz, Currency. Like those are like 4 different artists.
Currency is becoming one of my favorites, bro. Currency is
yes. I don't know. All these people, all these artists are really gifted in their ability, even with the Something for Junkies with Fabo. Fabo is still screaming on tracks. It's just some nostalgic about this, and it's 2023, man. This is really dope. Ty Dolla $ign was throughout this. He even had Jagged Edge on here. Summer was really a dope track, man. Oh,
you know how I think you know how we in the 2010s there were albums that we were like, oh, that was like one of the defining albums of the 2010s. I think when we get to the end of the 2020s, we're gonna look back at this album as like, bro, that was one of the defining. I think it's that good. I really think it's that good.
Yes,
I think it's one of those decade long lasting albums.
Killer Mike, if you continue to do this,
oh my goodness,
I'll put you in there with one of the greats. You're a great you're a good rapper. I don't think he's like in with the greats though. But if you continue to make this in your later stages of your career, and you definitely, there's going to be hard not to put you in there with the greats.
Climbing the rank, climbing the rank.
Yes, because this was
so good. This was one I could not wait to review. I was like, man, I hope Savon likes this because this is amazing.
Oh, I like Killer Mike. I was introduced by Killer Mike because of Outkast.
Right.
And then I was introduced to Bone Crusher because of Outkast. So all these, like even the Goody Mob, I learned about them through Outkast, and it was out before Outkast. Mm-hmm. So Outkast introduced me to, and so when we had, what's his name? His album was really dope, and he's cousins with Sleepy Brown. He was on the podcast.
Was it Jamil?
Yes.
Jamil Davis, yeah.
Yes. Like talking to him, it was just like bro, you have first-hand knowledge of just greatness. When he said
that, I would never forget. I was like, what? You just
bro, that's insane. They put out I've introduced to so many artists because of Outkast. Like, so man, just to be able to still listen to those guys like Killer Mike, bro, still killing it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes you feel good.
And now we're getting to our next review with Young Thug's Business is Business, in his first album since 2021. And on top of that, him, being incarcerated for more than a year, had this whole album release process under a different cycle. There was different type of production on this, with some being of a slow brooding type, and like the intro Parade on Cleveland. The other half was like more melodic. But what were your thoughts on this album? Because I wasn't really even expecting this year a release from Young Thug, and then Gunna obviously he had one the week before, and there was this beef about Young Thug's gonna try to outdo Gunna, and so there was just
Of
like
course,
this back
bro.
and forth. You knew when Gunna dropped a full album, I was like, okay, Young Thug is gonna be dropping within the next 2 weeks. It's just gonna happen. He's not gonna let that slide. But what were your takeaways from this album, and just kind of because some people say like this did sound like a bit of a dated Young Thug. It didn't sound as current because Gunna sounded more current. But what overall takeaways did you kind of have for it?
It was just Young Thug, bro. It was just another Young Thug album. There's I think he reached his ceiling.
Mm,
Even with coming out of jail, I think he reached his ceiling. It's a lot of artists that had that gap or had those years when they were really on fire,
he had
and
that.
they just reached their ceiling. Yeah, like the Baby reached his ceiling. I can't stand his songs. Every time I hear a Baby song and how he raps in the same cadence, I can't do it. Young Thug, it's the same thing. Even Gunna sounds like the same, like the
I'm gonna
same.
be
You
honest with
have
you,
your
and
you have your time.
I know people say like that. I don't get with
It
the hype
was
with that.
not.
I don't. Is it just me? Because I just think it's
No,
okay. I don't think it's like people are saying
it's
this
not
is the
just you.
album of the year. I'm like, man, maybe I just don't understand music anymore. I was just like, because I tried, I really tried, and I was just like, I liked his last album better, honestly, but this one it just didn't do it for me.
It was the same. Their ceiling has been reached. They talk about the same content. I mean, the same topics.
But
There's no innovation. There's
there are artists who can talk about the same thing and make it sound better, though. We know that there are artists who can do
Yeah,
that.
but they kind of spruce it up. It's the
They spruce it up,
same
yeah.
same vanilla cake, but they put different icing on it, or different decorations on it. He giving us the same cake we ate 3 years ago. I'm tired of it. Anybody eat the cake? No, I don't want to eat the cake. I don't want to eat the cake. Leave
Like
me
that
alone.
Sunday dinner, it's like, oh man, I had this dessert like
Chicken and green beans again. God, I'm tired of fried chicken. Yeah, man, it's the same thing over and over.
give us a new recipe. Come on, give us a new recipe.
Please, or just like call it something else and put it on a different decoration or something. And then business is business. Okay, you getting out of jail. Okay, cool. We've heard this before. Like, bro, give us a different like concept. Give us something. I don't know, but just give us something else. I mean,
But
your listeners like it,
I
but
like the
just
fact that his last album, Punk, was like it was more like because I like that album a lot because it had like more diversity in it. Like he had a rock elements. He had a just different. To me, he was more creative in that, and he took more
mm,
risks with that album. This one, I think it was more so just like I'm just gonna stay in my comfortable pocket. And there are songs off here that I like honestly, like. But it's just the whole album just wasn't a standout. I wasn't like when we're following albums like Killer Mike, one where we see the creativity and just the thought pattern. This one just felt like a little just safe. Overall, it just felt like a safe album.
yeah, I think this should have been an EP. And
It
I
wasn't
think
a dope
when
EP.
Yeah, and I think when you get to a certain stage of like, stage of when in your career, like Young Thug Gunna, they kind of are afraid of that EP nature. And
Yeah,
a lot
we
of
want
big
the
artists
albums.
really don't EP. They give albums or mixtapes. But this should have been an EP. This should have been more squeezed tight 6 songs, get your point across and keep it moving. I think your numbers would have been better. I don't think his numbers were really good. I know. I think Gunna numbers was good, but I don't
Gunna's
think
numbers
Young
was good.
Thug's numbers weren't that good. But I think this should have been an EP or just drop a couple singles. Don't be afraid of singles. Don't be afraid of an EP. You're not
It's okay
that
to
big
take
to
your
be.
time. It's okay to take your time with an
Yes.
album. You don't have to just put it out. You can run through the process slowly. You know, so definitely.
Mm-mm-mm.
And now getting to our next review with Russ Chomp 2.5 EP. In this new mini project, Russ goes back to kind of like the fundamentals with the star-studded list of producers such as Ninth Wonder, The Alchemist, Boy Wonder Havoc, and Static Selecta. And I know like Russ has been putting out singles in the past, but I like the fact that I like when Russ just goes and raps and picks soulful
Mm-hmm.
beats like the last Chomp album he had a really good project. A lot of songs off there I still go back and listen to. I think when Russ is the type of artist when he's in his element, he's in it. Like sometimes he
Yeah.
can be hit or miss, but when he's in it, and I feel like this EP he was really in his element, and he picked all the producers, the dream producers you would want an EP.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad he did this as an EP. I think if this was strung along too much, I think it would have lost some of his luster. But I gotta give him his credit of being versatile because he gave us the pop sounds, he gave us the catchy tunes, and then that one album, bro, he straight bars.
Yeah.
For the first 3 songs, I was so into this project. Excuse me, the beats, oh my gosh, the
It's
rhythm,
that
the
beat.
flow.
It's that type of beat. You just want to be like, man, this is so good.
Man, just send me something. Send me your scraps, bro. I would love to take them. But man, yeah, the first 3 songs really captivated me. I was like, yo, his cadence, his voice, everything. At first, I was nitpicking the mixing and mastering, but I thought, and then I put it on the speakers, and I was like, okay, it sounds really really good. Because on the phone, it sounded like he was away from the beat, like it was like they mix and master it, not like under it, but just on top of it, and had the beats around it. Sometimes his production is reverse, or his mix and master reverse. But anywho, but the last 3 songs, I didn't really like for some reason. I don't know. I think it got redundant. I don't know if that makes sense, but the first 3 tracks, I was like, okay, cool. They're really fire. And I was hyped for Easy Reflection and Perfectionist. And then I just didn't hold on to me. It didn't cling to me. So I may re-listen to it, but the first few songs, Wicked Rage, Blow the Whistle, Buck Up Your Freestyle.
Tough.
Got saved.
Oh yeah,
Got
definitely.
Saved. Hallelujah. Got saved, man. But Russ he's a great rapper, bro.
Yes.
I don't think he's good anymore. When you're versatile like that and
you have to put
the
great. You have to put the great title behind him.
He's a great rapper. He's not like in the Hall of Fame, but he's a great rapper. He's like one of those wide receivers. He's like Torrey Holt. I don't think Torrey Holt is a Hall of Famer, but he was a great wide receiver.
Yeah.
Isaac Bruce, that boy Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Top 5.
Top 5. That's like Kendrick, Drake, J. Cole. They're Hall of Famers. But Russ, it's okay to be a great rapper and not be in the Hall of Fame.
You're going to sit at a different table. It's okay. You can't sit at the who's table.
Right. At least you're in the room, though.
Yeah, at least you're in the room. And now getting into our next review with Kiana Lady's Grudges. In her sophomore album, it's lyrically and sonically more evolved than her debut album. She kind of plays with the sounds within the genre and overall possesses a mature experiential direction.